Hey folks, welcome back to Ari Awesomeness. Today I have all of the Anaconda kiddos here with me, and we're going to be talking a little bit about how reptiles remember experiences in general. And I've mentioned, they're heavy, so please excuse my tiredness from time to time. But yeah, these guys remember experiences pretty much whether they're positive or negative. They remember a single negative experience for a lot longer than they'd remember a single positive experience. So for that reason, you need to be really consistently positive with these guys. And what I mean by that is consistently be a source of positive stimuli, so they're not going to be afraid of you. Pretty much just being gentle with them, handling them like how you see me doing here. That's Allie over there, by the way. I have Atlas and Annie and Anna and Amy here over with me. But something that I like to do is every time they're sleeping or completely motionless and they aren't expecting to be touched, is I'll actually come in from below again. I go back to that a lot, but like they're in the enclosure, they're sleeping, they're laying down, I just reach below and gently pick them up. And I do this really slowly. I also mentioned watching how much pressure you're putting on them. So if you are really grabbing down hard, it tends to lose their trust. If you're restraining them often when you don't have to, it loses their trust. So make sure that you only restrain or force them to do things when it's absolutely necessary. Past that, you want to make sure that their voice... Get out of here. That's my dog, by the way. Anacondas don't eat dog. What is this, like year 4? I'm on about that. But anyway, make sure that they are calm when you're handling them. It shouldn't be a negative experience for them. It shouldn't be I'm constantly trying to escape. If it is, you need to get in an area where they do have space to get away from you and get that comfortable distance from you. But if you just kind of force a situation, it gets them in the mind frame of, okay, this person is just exerting ultimate power over me. Why should I ever be friendly? Why should I ever let my guard down? You know what I mean? You have to give them a reason to believe that, okay, if I really don't like something and I show some small signs of it, that might look like, for some snakes, that might be a small hiss. For some snakes, that might be body language. They might buck you off if they're just not in the mood. And it's about making them feel like their say in things or how they feel actually matters, so that they don't have to elevate it to, okay, they don't get it. They're still doing the same thing. Now I have to bite because I can't use words. I tried hissing, I tried bucking, whatever. Keeper doesn't listen. So that's how they feel. And again, please make sure you're not purposely going out and antagonizing them, because what that does is it creates a very distrustful situation. But yeah, again, circling back to the whole dog thing, if these were like Burmese pythons, reticulated pythons that are much more generalist feeders that would just go for something like a dog, I would never let my dog get anywhere near these kiddos. But these kiddos have never shown any sort of prey response towards her. They get prey that's a lot smaller than she is too. That's like a 10, 12 pound dog. So, yeah. My kids, ladies and gentlemen, here they are. I really, really pride myself on having that positive relationship with them, because that allows me to do a whole lot of things that people used to tell me weren't possible. People tell me that yellow anacondas, they're so defensive. They're so mean. please. It's been so many years of just of proving that wrong. These guys can be just as friendly, just as tame, just as sweet as any BCI, boa, or ball python, etc. And it's just a matter of people treating animals the way they think that they are going to react. Like if you go out and tell someone that, okay, this animal is going to be defensive no matter what, then obviously their approach to how they interact with that animal is going to be very different from if you say, all right, here's the animal's behaviors that we know of, here's some things that we've observed in the past, how can we introduce the element of a keeper into a situation without making them scared, without inciting fear. And I think it just comes down to taking it very slowly. They respond well to consistency, so taking advantage of that, we're having a lot of small positive interactions. And a positive interaction for a constrictor like this is, okay, maybe I was picked up, maybe I was pet, maybe I was moved somewhere, and I didn't get hurt. So now I know that, okay, this keeper is not going to harm me. They're not going to force me to do things, so I don't have to be forceful myself. And a lot of the times I'll pick up these big constrictors and they'll immediately tense up, and they'll jerk away, and that tells me that, okay, the keeper's being very forceful, obviously. If the snake feels like it needs to be this forceful, it needs to immediately tense up and then dash away when being picked up, it's the keeper is just being really forceful. And I hate to see those situations where the keeper is having to be super forceful because the snake is super forceful, and then the keeper gets more forceful, and the snake gets more defensive, and it's just this cycle. Whoop, gotcha. It's this cycle that could really be prevented. And I encourage people, if they're stuck at that sort of standstill with a constrictor, to take a step back, evaluate. That's not me farting, I swear. That's all these anacondas rubbing against the couch. I needed to clarify that because that would have been pretty embarrassing. You know what I mean? But yeah, anacondas. I love these kids. Yeah, just slow, steady approaches with these guys. They respond well to it. It's not super hard to get these guys to the point where, okay, they might trust you. Because if I can do it with 8 of them, this is just 5 of them, then I assure you that doing with 1 is possible. So again, make them feel like their voices matter. Make them feel like they have a say in things. And then genuinely give them a say in things. If they're feeling really antsy, they're just not feeling up to it, like one of them, like I have them all out in the yard, for example. One of them gets spooked, and for another few minutes they're just dashing around, they're uncomfortable, they clearly just don't want to be in that situation anymore. I take them back, I put them in the enclosure, I put them in a transport bag for a minute or two, let them calm down, make them feel safe, and then reintroduce them and see how they react then. But I just want to keep their voices in mind, and with these guys, the voices are silent, and they come in the form of body language, and they come not so much in the form of vocalizations. In the wild, you would hear a lot of angry vocalizations from yellow anacondas. They have a roar, which is a really loud hiss, that they use to basically scare off predators. And if you're hearing that in captivity, it's probably not a good sign. Mine don't really make any noise because they don't really feel the need to. They've been raised by me ever since they were like little noodles, like Annie here. My big girl, almost 8 foot, she's, and I had her ever since she could wrap around my finger. And so obviously they're used to a different scenario. They're used to a different kind of way of living. And I talked about how the wild can be really unforgiving, and it teaches them that, okay, I need to really be on guard, because the one time that they're not on guard, it could be a really negative experience for them. So again, going back to if you have a wild-caught animal, it's going to be harder to earn their trust because they've had those experiences, potentially. It's not like a one-size-fits-all statement. It's like some wild-caught animals may not have been predated at all. They may be in perfect condition. So it's kind of case by case. But I will say that a big contributing factor to how my anacondas are all happy friends like this is the fact that they're captive bred. I know that pretty much all anacondas in the hobby or in the trade now are captive bred, but when you're talking about other constrictors, other snake species in general, you'll definitely have a lot easier time getting them to this point if they're captive bred, generally speaking. But yeah, on top of that, it's really just about comfort and patience, making sure that they're not scared, making sure that they're comfortable, and making sure that you listen to what they're putting on the table. And that might involve some learning an animal's body language on your part, but yeah, definitely worthwhile. And that's a kind of big picture of how do these guys react to what a keeper is putting forward, and how can someone potentially get them to be friendly and make wonderful pets. Because I am a firm believer in given the right situation, they can be wonderful pets. And the right situation is a lot more common than people think. You see a lot of people going off about exotic animals in captivity, very bad. Not really true. In my opinion, you look what they did to domestic animals. You have things like dogs, pugs. There's so many breeds of dogs that are just messed up beyond comprehension. You hear about things like dog fighting, you hear about all sorts of terrible things, and then they turn around and say things like, exotics in captivity are so bad. The main issues right now, I think, are overpopulation of domestic animals, and then, of course, you have the whole feral cat issue. Well, that's a whole other problem. Poor cats, and then poor native wildlife. Keep your cats indoors, folks. Seriously, not fair to them. Poor things. Don't want my cat getting predated on or eaten by an eagle or whatever, or hit by a car or disease, etc. Sorry, I don't mean to push my agenda. Keep your cats indoors, folks. Pushes agenda anyway. Yeah, my kids. I love them so much. So yeah, consistency is what gets you really, really calm, amazing adults like this. And listening to what they have to say. Can't emphasize that enough. Learn your animal's body language. Learn what makes them tick. And use that to help them feel comfortable. So, thank you guys so much again. We appreciate your continued support as always. And if you did enjoy this content, we would really appreciate if you'd join us again in the future. So, thank you so much again, and we'll see you in the next one. Have a good one.